crazy friends. How y'all doing today? Welcome to boot camp. We're going to see how this goes tonight. It's going to be interesting. So for those of you that are here, welcome. For those of you that are new here, welcome to all of you as well. This is going to be a lot of fun and very different than most of the trivia streams that you've done before. This is a competition. I mean, as much as trivia is always a competition, but the person that you're competing with the most is yourself here. We're going to be going through 30 questions, and these are typical Jeopardy clues. So you're going to be looking for typical Jeopardy clues. Everyone who's here at the end of the stream is going to be getting a PDF with all of the questions of tonight and a bunch of little highlighted stuff for you to kind of look out for in regards to Jeopardy Pavlovs. You're going to hear the term Pavlov an awful lot over the next couple of weeks if you hang out with us and you think about this. These Pavlovs are going to be these words that if they pop up in, with other words, you'll be able to instantaneously draw a connection and have an answer ready to go before anyone is even done reading the question. So by you following along in that regard and you kind of keeping track of these Pavlovian, clues, you're going to be able to remember, oh yeah, Pavlov saved everyone's life and you're going to have other people in here who have been on the show before, and they understand this Pavlovian idea. If you're waiting to come up with an answer before and if you're waiting to think about it while Alex Trebek is reading, you're going to have a problem on the show. You're going to need to get that information quickly from your head into your mouth and ready to get it out of your mouth. So after each question, we're going to go through what the Pavlovs for those questions are. There's going to be 30 questions. Okay, so with that, we're going to get started. I'm going to lower this sound. The first 10 questions that you're going to see are the first 2-row questions. This is the stuff you should be able to get pretty quickly. So definitely consider it. And here we go. Question number 1. Harper Lee's Go Set a Watchman features characters from this novel set 20 years earlier. Answer is To Kill a Mockingbird. For this question, Go Set a Watchman will either lead you to Harper Lee or to Kill a Mockingbird every single time. Since Harper Lee only has 2, you should definitely know Go Set a Watchman and To Kill a Mockingbird automatically connected to Harper Lee. Question number 2. Readers had to wait 13 years between his first novel, Catch-22, and his next, Something Happened. The key here is Catch-22. Something Happened will not come up nearly as much, but Catch-22 is one of Jeopardy's favorite books to talk about, and you need to know that Catch-22 is written by Joseph Heller. Question number 3. This author of The Call of the Wild served 30 days in the Erie County Penitentiary for vagrancy. The Call of the Wild is going to be connected at all times to Jack London. So if you see Call of the Wild, always going to be Jack London. Or Jack London, if they're asking for a Jack London story, I don't want to say it's always Call of the Wild, but it's going to be Call of the Wild very often. Question number 4. Her haunting short story, The Lottery, first appeared in The New Yorker in 1948. The lottery will always be Shirley Jackson. Shirley Jackson is a real interesting writer. She's super well written, and she's written a ton of stuff. But it always refers back to the lottery, which is a story about somebody getting stoned to death because they won the lottery, which is their way of doing things in this small backwards town. So if you're not familiar with the lottery, you got to think of stoning, and you got to think of Shirley Jackson. Question number 5. The only complete novel by this American master of the macabre is the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym. So this is one of these weird Jeopardy questions where if you would ask most trivia heads who wrote the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym, most of them would have no clue what you were talking about. But when you go through American Master of the Macabre, almost 85% of you said Edgar Allan Poe. So that's the key here. If you see American Master of the Macabre, or something to that extent, or a master horror writer, and they're talking about, only complete novel, because he wrote a lot of short stories and poetry, Edgar Allan Poe. Question number 6. Willa Cather's novel about this title girl is set around the town of Black Hawk, Nebraska. It's interesting because title girl means something that it's a thing that a lot of people glaze over when they're actually on the show. When they're saying a title character, that means the character's name is in the title of the story, and that might seem easy enough, but it trips up a lot of people. The answer of Willa Cather's novel here is My Antonia. And that's kind of it. You have to really think about, in this case, Willa Cather and Nebraska. There are 2 really well-known Willa Cather novels. One is My Antonia, the other is O Pioneers. But O Pioneers doesn't have a title girl in the name, so you're able to eliminate that even if you don't know anything about these stories. And that's a way that you can kind of get around those types of questions. Question number 7. E.L. Doctorow's novel, The March, uses this general's 1864 trek through Georgia as its backdrop. So this one played easier than the My Antonia question. I did get a message from someone watching saying they were surprised that My Antonia was top 2 rows, and it was. Willa Cather likes to come up a lot on Jeopardy, which is just really interesting. This E.L. Doctorow, The March, 1864 trek through Georgia as its backdrop is Sherman. And again, you have The March, you have 1864, you have a lot of clues pointing you in the direction there. I'm going to completely botch the pronunciation of number 8, but you're going to get it anyway because y'all smart. His Green Hills of Africa is an account of big game hunting in Tanganyika in the 1930s. So, when you are forced on Jeopardy to look at an author and big game hunting, especially one that is American, your thoughts should instantaneously go to Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway, definitely known for his accounts of big game hunting. Yeah, I mean, he's a bit of a bum, but definitely a bum worth knowing about. Question number 9. In 1972, this author created the Kinte Foundation. This is the author of Roots, but you're going to need a name for that, and it's, in this case, it's Alex Haley. Okay, last question of the top 2 rows. Medals from the American Library Association include the Caldecott, Newbery, and one name for this Little House author. This is an interesting one because 2 names came up only for the most part. The correct answer, and Louisa May Alcott. But this isn't Louisa May Alcott. If you hear Little House, you must go to Laura Ingalls Wilder. Question number 11. Tracker Hugh Glass has a bear of a day and is kind of upset about the way things went down in this Michael Punky book. So this is an interesting one because you're not necessarily getting this through the book, possibly. Might be getting this a different way. So in this case, the answer is The Revenant. And no, we're not talking about huge jazz or any of those jokes. The answer is The Revenant. Leo definitely helped some of you out here. So Hugh Glass, Michael Punk. Is it Punk or Punky? I don't remember. Those would be your Pavlovs there. Question number 12. In 1932, Pearl Buck's Sons was a number 3 bestseller. This other Buck book held the top spot. So, Pearl S. Buck, if you're looking at Pearl S. Buck's most known work, it's always going to be The Good Earth. The Pearl does exist, but generally, if you're looking for a Pearl S. Buck book, and you're not looking at a bottom row clue, you're looking in the middle or early rows, you're generally going to The Good Earth. Question number 13. A socialist newspaper sent him to investigate Chicago stockyards. The result was The Jungle. So there's a very tricky thing here. Some people go and they misremember this, and it came up in wrong answers today. So if you did this, don't feel bad. The correct answer, when you think about The Jungle, is Upton Sinclair. But there was more than one response of someone who gave me the answer of Sinclair Lewis. And that's something that happens a lot trivially. That happens a lot. So just be careful that when you see The Jungle, and you think of Chicago, you know, he generally likes to work uptown rather than downtown. Question number 14. In 1809, he published A History of New York under the pen name Diedrich Knickerbocker. So this is the question where we start getting a little bit more difficult. These are some of these middle row clues that, if you're not familiar with the fact that Knickerbocker is your Pavlov here, and New York is, New York and Knickerbocker tend to go together. But in here, you're going to need to know that if you hear the pen name of Knickerbocker, you're thinking of Washington Irving. Question number 15. Halfway through our game today, and we got through in around a half an hour. Yeah, you'll be out of here in around an hour. That works. Question number 15 is something I will admit to you I didn't know. And this is a different type of question, so let's see how it plays. He peeped at Polynesian life in 1846's Tippy, his first book. So we had a little bit more of a difficult question in my opinion, but not according to the numbers I see. The answer is Herman Melville. Polynesian life tends to be something that connects to Herman Melville quite a bit, and the idea of the sea and the idea of whaling and all of that other stuff. Herman Melville is definitely a connection that you need to make to Polynesia. Question number 17. Actually, this is question number 16, but I'm going to go out of order because one of these questions I need to change over. So question number 16. I'm going to say that again. He's the author of Invisible Man, a classic of African American literature. So, yeah, this one's easy to blank on. And some of you had a very good wrong answer here. But the person you're looking for Invisible Man is Ralph Ellison. Okay. Next question. In this one, you're going to have to name the author who said this quote. Sometimes I don't know whether Zelda and I are real or whether we are characters in one of my novels. Zelda Fitzgerald is definitely the one to know. So if you know that Zelda Fitzgerald was married to F. Scott Fitzgerald, that would make a lot of sense. So Zelda, you need to be able to make a connection from Zelda to F. Scott. Question number 18. Her alter ego, Jo March, gets $100 for a story she has written. For those of you, and there were more than one of you who said Little Women, you're right. This is talking about Little Women, but they're talking about her alter ego here, and in that case, you need the author, and the author here is Louisa May Alcott. Question number 19. In 1912, Edgar Rice Burroughs in a 1912 Edgar Rice Burroughs tale, Civil War vet John Carter is magically transported here. So I'm going to give you some bonus facts on this one. Not really bonus, but if you're a Disney movie fan, you probably have seen the film John Carter. I want to say that was 2012, maybe? Someone can correct me in chat when I'm indubitably wrong. But John Carter, the movie that was produced by Disney, was in connection with the Edgar Rice Burroughs tale in which he was transported to Mars. You could say no one saw that movie, but it made over $200 million in the box office. Question number 20, the last one of the middle two rows. This colorful Toni Morrison work follows a black girl's struggle to achieve white ideals of beauty. So, just wanted to see something real quick. There was quite a few answers of the color purple. And that's Alice Walker. And this is why some of these Pavlovs are really important to kind of get nailed down. Really easy to go to the color purple in this case, but you need the bluest eye. You would need the bluest eye for Toni Morrison. Okay, so that's the end of the first two rows. The first four rows at this point. At this point in time, if literature is your strong point and you're at this 15 or better range, you're doing pretty well. It gets a little bit tougher moving forward. Again, that depends on your knowledge base, but we could definitely see how that goes. Last 10 questions of the night coming up. Norman Mailer said a novel by this man didn't have the right stuff. It is a 742-page work that reads as it's 1,500. Okay, so just making sure I didn't miss anyone's correct. Looks good. So the Pavlov here is the right stuff. Because that's the book that he's referencing. And the author is Tom Wolfe. Tom Wolfe. Question number 22. The first scene in this book begins with the brass nozzle in his fists, with this great python spitting its venomous kerosene. This is an interesting one because this isn't a Pavlov in the way that most normal Pavlovs work. But if you think of a fireman, with a brass nozzle in their fists, but instead the fire hose is spitting fire instead of water, you're thinking of Fahrenheit 451. Bradbury. So again, fireman would be the Pavlov there for Fahrenheit 451. And it's also showing how Jeopardy likes to turn questions that are not necessarily difficult question. Like Fahrenheit 451 is something that comes up on the top two rows all the time, but it can also be flipped around in a weird way to be a bottom row clue as well. Question number 23. This novel by Zora Neale Hurston tells the story of Janie Crawford and her 3 marriages. So this played a little bit more difficult. However, if you ever see Zora Neale Hurston and you have nothing else to guess, your first answer should pretty much always be Their Eyes Were Watching God. And yeah, definitely Pavlov. Zora Neale Hurston, Their Eyes Are Watching God, comes up all the time. Question number 24. More obscene than anything is inertia, is a line from this Henry Miller book some consider obscene. So, when you hear Henry Miller and you get to an obscenity question, it is always going to be Tropic of Cancer. Tropic of Cancer. And yes, there is a Seinfeld reference that goes along with that. And the next question, question 25, is one that teaches you, again, like the Edgar Allan Poe question before, you don't necessarily need to know the answer in order to know the answer. Question 25. After the Civil War, this best-selling author spent time in the South, and Palmetto Leaves is a book about her life in Florida. There were two ways you could have gone on this question. One was Harriet Beecher Stowe, and the other one was Margaret Mitchell. The answer is Harriet Beecher Stowe. Again, Civil War, the South. It's either of them would have been good guesses, but if you need Palmetto Leaves, it is definitely... Mitchell only wrote one novel. That is very helpful. Thank you, Tara. Question number 26. In 1930, this Main Street author became the first American to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. This is a nice little question because it gives you two different Pavlovs to know here. You could go Main Street, which is the harder Pavlov, but the first American to win the Nobel Prize for Literature is Sinclair Lewis. Sinclair Lewis. Question 27 is something that's easily forgotten. Hopefully you haven't forgotten it. This O. Henry story about a poor husband and wife trying to buy each other Christmas presents has a twist ending. The O. Henry story about Christmas and a poor husband and wife is The Gift of the Magi. 3 questions left. Get you out of here by 9:30. This is going to only be an hour stream, but it's going to be helpful for everybody. 28. John Steinbeck's East of Eden plays out its Cain and Abel parable in this California valley. So East of Eden, and whenever you're really going through Steinbeck, it's Salinas Valley. It is Salinas Valley. Question number 29. Funny that we should be asking this one now. Lost Layson is a once-lost novella that this Gone with the Wind author wrote when she was just 16. If you were paying attention in chat, Tara kind of gave us some information about this just recently. The answer is Margaret Mitchell. Margaret Mitchell. And finally, question number 30. Originally published anonymously, his essay on nature helped lost transcendentalism. So this one played, I'd say 50-50. Pretty much 50-50. Lots of Henry David Thoreau answers. But if you're talking about nature, it's Ralph Waldo Emerson. If you did not do well, that's not the point of this stream. So, everyone, if you could just take an eye on chat for a little while. Amy is going to be giving you a link to a PDF file. This PDF file is going to be what you can actually use. Go ahead and click on it. That's yours to keep. Save it, share it with your friends, do whatever you want to do with it. It gives you the opportunity to go through the questions, and all the Pavlovs that we discussed tonight are highlighted for you already. The questions are in the front, the answers are in the back, kind of like business in the front, party in the back. A couple things. This stream wouldn't be possible without a couple of people. First, my mods are fantastic. They help put this together. They're basically compiling all of these Pavlov stuff for you. This is my hand. So yes, tonight's contestants will receive a PDF file containing the questions and answers, as well as highlighted memorization words and phrases. Yes, that is my hand. That is my hand on Jeopardy at the very beginning. And what you're going to see here is that we use JArchive, which is painstakingly put together by Andy Saunders. So he's definitely someone that we're leaning on here to have access to all of these prior clues. And this is also in conjunction with Trivial Warfare. I know some of you found out about this through Trivial Warfare as well. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I hope that you go back to the Trivial Warfare board. Let them know that this was helpful. This was something that was very good. So if American literature was not your thing, maybe British history is. So if that's something you need to get that studying on, definitely hit it up. Because we're going to be doing British history, which is probably one of my worst subjects at that. Thank you all for being here today. Bye, everyone.